Good day, everybody. My name is Andrew Coutts, and it's a pleasure again to welcome you to the 7th episode of our podcast series. Today, we're talking skills. We're talking about the differentiator that skills is in our insurance business and how getting and obtaining and attracting the right people can really make a difference for your business. We've also had the challenges of moving to work from home and also the new normal that faces us as we move into an uncertain future. To discuss this topic with me, I'm very pleased to be able to introduce Enid Lizamore, who's head of HR, and Pauline Pillay, who runs the operations teams. Both of them exceptionally experienced. Really good to have you, Pauline and Enid, with us. Thank you very much for joining. And I look forward to the discussion with you this morning. Enid, if I can kick off with you, please. What were some of Santam's key priorities in managing its people through the impact of COVID-19 and the lockdown?
Thank you, Andrew, and hello to everyone. I'm so pleased to be here today, and thanks for having me. So absolutely, I think if I hear the word unprecedented one more time in terms of COVID-19, I think I'll pass out. And we are well aware of the challenging, incredibly tumultuous impact it's had on all our businesses. When I think through the Santam response and the way we've handled it as a business, my grandfather often used to say that people are like toothpaste and you only know what's on the inside once it's squeezed. And when I reflect on Santam and how the response was towards our people, toward our business, towards our business partners, our intermediaries, I can only say that Santam people are good toothpaste. When I think through our leaders and their approach and how they ensured that the employee well-being, the person well-being, the family well-being was front and center, I'm just completely in awe of the values and the type of people we get to work with every day. So practically speaking, though, we made sure that we were quite holistic in terms of the support and the well-being offerings that we presented. Everything was free of charge, and we provided it both to our people, so to our employees, as well as their families. So they were able to access that same set support free of charge. Provided, care and support to every single employee that tested positive, and that's obviously a no-brainer. We also provided special COVID leave, so unaccounted for leave to all people who were unable to work from home during the hard lockdown under level 5, but also those who had comorbidities or had to look after their families or some of their kids who may have been ill or who were unable to go to school during that period. We provided an allowance for our people that came into work during hard lockdown and at the same time provided private transport during level 5. We ensured that there was a holistic well-being offering that looked after psychological support, physical support, emotional, intellectual, and more recently, over the past 3 months, we've really amped up the financial support because financial distress is coming through as such a strong theme in terms of what people are facing within their families right now. And whilst we certainly didn't have a financial impact in terms of the payment of our people during this time, multiple income families have been impacted, and we're seeing a number of people talking through the fact that a partner or a spouse or somebody else in their home has either lost their income completely or has had a diminished income over the past few months. We also continued paying an average commission to those commission earners across the business. We extended Yell for Yellow, which is our concierge and care services, to include tutoring for family members who need to look after homeschooling. And let's be honest, I think that was a pull on every single one of us. In terms of our learning offerings, we went to 100% digital. So we were able to keep up all our technical and our leadership competence building, and we moved to digital for those. We launched a revised recognition framework to ensure that every single person has the opportunity to either nominate somebody who's doing incredibly well during this time, and in turn, those people be recognized for their contribution with a small reward from us. And I think most importantly, just the generosity of Santam people came through with our participation in the Solidarity Fund. I think over and above this, we communicated frequently and repetitively, trying to secure our people as often as possible via email, Teams meetings, WhatsApps. And again, just the leaders in our organization just have been incredible in ensuring that our people are secure, they understand what we are doing as an organization, and they have access to the most support we could possibly provide during this time. We survey people regularly to ensure that they are both accessing these services and it meets their requirements.
Thank you, Enid. It has been an exceptional journey, and it was a real privilege to walk the path under your leadership as we were able to continue servicing our intermediaries with all that you put in place for our staff. Thank you for that. Part of this journey, will Santam staff ever return to business as usual, or do you expect a new normal going forward? And if it is a new normal, what do you think it would look like?
Yeah, Andrew, that's an incredibly good question and a very complex one. And, if only any of us had a crystal ball. But let's talk about the concept of change, which is not a new one for us. We've spoken at length about the requirement to start adapting to the world around us and the changing world of work around us. COVID and lockdown has accelerated the ability to think of new ways of working and different ways of working. So I think if I answered in a far more practical way, I think the biggest change to come out of the past 6 months is the fact that we have a greater passion and obsession about serving our brokers and our clients to the best of our ability. And where we were maybe inflexible, maybe a little bit rigid, and we didn't really take the time to think through how best do we make this easy, simplified. How does ease of doing business, because we are not confined by some of the parameters we had before, how does that enable us to ensure that the broker, that the client, again, is at the heart of what we do? Whilst it's always been a huge principle for us and a huge obsession, I think we have found ways to make it more practical and more easy. I think our people have really embraced the ability to work remotely. I think it's given them a greater level of flexibility in managing both their work commitments as well as their home commitments. I think the new way forward will be a stronger partnership in terms of us being able to service our brokers in a way that works maybe not in the same inflexible way we worked before, but in a far more value-based, a far more efficient, and a far more productive way going forward as a result of being able to work remotely.
Thank you, Enid, very much. I think you make some very valid points there. And it is an exciting opportunity to relook at how we show up and how we deliver going forward. But I guess in that very question comes the issue around what skills are needed to reinvent ourselves and to be relevant going forward and to deliver that service in a new way. Maybe, Pauline, if I can ask you to come in here, what are the essential skills do you think that staff must have to be effective in the new normal like Enid describes?
Thank you, Andrew. It is indeed exciting, and the opportunity to participate in the creation of that future is just really something that I look forward to. So if I could touch on a few points. So mindset of an active and continuous learning is super crucial at this stage. As we develop exciting possibilities of the future, what is important and crucial that we have a mindset of active learning. And how do we immerse ourselves in learning that can take us into that future? How do we seek out possibilities in our endeavor of a better tomorrow? And the topic of being human has never, ever been more relevant than it is at this point. If you consider what does creating a meaningful platforms and engagements and building relationships for the future, if we consider moments of magic and just the ability to be human at this stage, and even as we look and transcend into the future, the one thing that's clear, and Enid touches on it, is that the way of work will be different. So how do you create that human engagement and being human even with this new way of work? I think the concept of a change-fit organization is one that is embedded in the heart of what the future will look like. So we must be a people that embraces and promotes change. We must be deliberate in our speech and our action. How do we support people to be emotionally changed, but physically changed, but mentally changed? And of course, there is that common purpose and being creative about what and why we do what we do. And then there's no doubt a firm place for how do we challenge the status quo of where we were at, where we're currently at now, and what we're building towards. Emotional intelligence, Andrew, is crucial. I suppose face-to-face daily engagements are different to virtual engagements, and it's important that we spend time in terms of EQ and building people's EQ as we develop and design for the future way of work. I suppose the next one for me is creative solution orientation. There's complexity in possibilities. There's complexity in some of our current scenarios. So how do we build without the shackles of the past while ensuring key insights from the past are not lost? The next point for me, Andrew, that is crucial is how does one ensure that we surround ourselves with diversity of thinking, even in the new way of world? Because in the new way of world, we will have remote working, we'll have collective working. How do we ensure that we surround ourselves with the diversity of thinking? It becomes easier now to only talk to those that are in your immediate space. Since some work from home, you have to then be deliberate about seeking out thought leadership and realities from a diverse group. Accountability, do what it is that you say you are going to do. You must subscribe to the highest possible standard, knowing that it is a privilege to serve. I mean, of course, there is the technology savvy, the analytical thinking, there's all of that comes into place. But the mindset and how we enter the future and how we ready ourselves for the future, it is my view that those skill sets are significantly more important as we build for the future.
Pauline, thank you. I mean, I really do like the flow through of attitude and diversity of thought and accountability. I guess that the tool sets that you also referred to are critical, and the role of technology and how that's going to influence not just what we do, how we do it, but I guess also who does what. Maybe, Enid, if I can bring you in, it's our second last question, but just a quick thought around the explosion of technology and what that means for everyday jobs in our insurance sector, perhaps more broadly as a whole.
Thanks, Andrew. Another really interesting question and something sort of almost philosophically we need to ponder as a collective again. And again, I want to embrace this concept of the partnership within our ecosystem and within our environment. So here's the truth of the matter. I mean, technology has accelerated over the past 10 to 5 years. Our industry has largely been quite benign to the impacts of it. And largely, the insurance industry has not been disintermediated. The truth of the matter, though, is that you are and we will be either disrupted or we can be the disruptor. And technology is our vehicle for that disruption. I suppose our appeal to every single person within our ecosystem, both our clients who we need to face the demand and the expectation of what they want, our brokers who are such an incredible part of our ecosystem and really the heart of our business, and ourselves who want to service both of those stakeholders to the best of our ability. How do we start thinking together about how we use technology as our greatest ability to serve our clients in the best, most cost-effective, most essential way that meets their expectations? So when I think about the explosion of technology and when I think about the ability of us using Internet of Things, AI, to produce far more user-friendly, far more intuitive, far more predictable ways of servicing our client bases, I think through how best do we partner well to ensure that we have a well-thought-through plan, that we are not fearful of technology, but we embrace its ability to give us a better value proposition back to our customer base, and it makes us strong as a collective. And I think most importantly, how do we take this journey together? How do we conceptualize it together? How do we design it together? And how do we go on it together, thus embracing the ability to face the future with a lot more confidence, a lot more security? Because I think the downsides of some of the technological impacts on our business is the fear and the insecurity it sometimes brings in terms of our ability to hang on to our jobs. I think the final thing I'll just say on this, technology is there to augment what we have. It's there to add value, and something like predictive analytics or the ability to use data to cut out a lot of guff work or admin work allows us the ability to also reskill ourselves. You know, over the weekend, I did a Udemy course on understanding data scientists and the ability to use data in a way to sort of augment the people analytics we are looking at the moment. And I suppose would be my last encouraging point to every single person who's listening to this. Take the time to upskill yourself in areas that you're not familiar with. I think it's the biggest gift you can give yourself, and it's the biggest gift we can give each other by ensuring that we collectively raise the technical competence of our teams, ourselves, and the ability to service our customers to the best of our ability again.
Thanks, Enid. I share your view. I think, there's so much more opportunity in change than there is fear. It does make it necessary for ourselves to step up and walk into that opportunity. Pauline, a very last question for you. I'm so used to giving you the last word, so I think it's only just right. Do you have any recommendations, just to wrap it up, for our intermediaries on how best you think that they can attract, develop, and retain engaged and skilled employees in their practices as well?
Thank you, Andrew. So purpose is a very powerful something. So having a purpose that people want to jump into and people want to be part of something that is progressive. And if you couple that with a relentless pursuit of brilliance and adding value, people align themselves to a brand. What do you stand for? Where are you going? How authentic is your leadership? How integrate is your decision-making process? So those are foundational blocks in terms of any business. If one looks at the development of skills, I'll go into the pillars for development, but I do want to say that as Santam, we've done really a great amount of work in terms of documenting skills, making the skills accessible to people readily, aligning those skills to career aspirations of people, and allowing people to go through the process, agnostic of their current role. How do they build for a future? There's multiple levels that we've looked at in terms of that. And how do we then partner with our business partners to expose the Santam skills that we can to allow our business partners to grow their skill sets? So I did want to make comment of that, Andrew. So as we develop a set of skills, what's crucial is to consider what the skills value proposition looks like. What are the skills for today? What are the skills for tomorrow? What skills inherently exist within the business? And is that skills that inherently exist, are they being shared freely? Do people have access to it? And for those skills that don't exist, do we invest enough in creating those skills that can be consumed by our people, whether it is for current job functions or future job functions? So it's also important to make skills available to people that they can access on their own time. Enid talks about having done something on the weekend. So that's removing that dependency on somebody to actually teach you something face to face and putting the power in the individual's hand is something that goes a very, very long way in improving the skill sets. Collaborative growth and thinking is hugely important, even as we consider what collective solutioning looks like. And collective solutioning in the business means no one person is expected to have the answer. How do you collectively collaborate to find the solution to the problem or the challenge that you may be facing at this moment? Your goals must be inspiring. It has to be something that inspires people. And we set the platform that says, here is how far you can dream beyond. When one considers what does retaining people look like, of course, there's the concept of belonging and inclusiveness. How do you create a culture that allows people to achieve their business and personal best, even as we pursue building a business? How do we hold ourselves to a standard that's authentic and integrate? I spoke about that just now. Then how do we test against the skills? So is there a process that accredits people for the skills that they've acquired through the business? And how reusable is that skills? So how do we ensure that there is relevance of skills beyond just our business? And how do we enhance the career aspirations of people? It is also important to note that when people join our business, they bring with them a particular set of skills. And how do we leverage that set of skills for the existing skills and, of course, build for what the tomorrow looks like? And finally, Andrew, I do want to make the point that deliberately creating a space for people to bring their best is crucial as we build for skill sets of tomorrow.
Pauline, thank you very much. Enid, to you as well. That brings us to the end of our 7th podcast series. Thank you to all of you who've tuned in and listened. I really appreciate, Enid and Pauline, your time in discussing people. The most important asset to each of our businesses is always time well spent. I'm left with a message that it's important to have a very clear purpose and to be a good toothpaste when under pressure. I think more seriously, it is about recognizing we have the skills in our business. It's about making sure we encourage the attitude and the space to let our people surprise us. If you have any questions, please get in contact with us. And as always, thank you for your support. May you and your family stay safe during this period, and we wish you all the best as we move in towards the end of the year. Thank you for your time.